Hey, lover.
Hey, lover.
Awaken from your slumber.
I wasn't sleeping.
I was just resting my eyes. How you doing?
I'm doing great.
Yeah?
Feeling renewed.
Yeah?
Nothing like a nice bout of COVID to make you feel like you're really alive.
Yeah, it's true. It was, you have to show your body a lot of patience. Because we don't know how we got it, and we didn't know when it was going to end.
You didn't even get it, Sean.
I didn't.
You never even tested positive. I felt embarrassed. I was like, I'm so weak.
I don't even know how to explain that. Everyone in the house we live in had it. I was with 4 people that had COVID and were exercising no precautions whatsoever, including myself. I didn't exercise any precautions. I said, if we're going to get it, let's just do this fucking thing.
No, that's what I said. As soon as it was in the house, I was like, let's just get it sooner than later so we're on the other side of it. And you were like, I don't know. I don't really want it. I get such bad headaches.
Yeah.
And I think I just like embraced the getting it, and you had a little bit more of a protection up. And you're like, I don't need this thing.
Yeah, I literally don't know how it's even possible.
We don't even know how this thing works. It's so funny. We were talking with DJ Preschool Larry the other day, who we've had on the podcast. Great podcast, Intercommunalism. Anyway,
he's 73 years old.
He's 73 years old. Every weekend he's out DJing with young kids and everything, and just in the mix, and everyone's out there, and he says he still hasn't gotten it. I'm like, oh, man, this was my 3rd time getting it.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
Yeah, he must have a protective Merkaba over him, following him around. Because he really is, like, right now, my human talisman for, like, love. He's so bright and so loving, and maybe that has something to do with it. There's a purity to his being.
Yeah, no, and I think there's also something about it running through the city so quick that it's almost like if people are out, it's because they don't have it, rather than...
Maybe, yeah. I don't know.
We're up here in the burbs where kids are spreading it around.
Yeah, I was just doing deep breathing. Literally once you had it, I was like, I'm embracing this. Like, I don't care. I have it too. Even though I didn't test positive, I was like, I have it too. I'm just going to treat it like that. But it couldn't have come at a more perfect time, to tell you the truth. Not that there's a great time to get completely sick and have to be out of it for 2 weeks, but it allowed us to move some energy.
No, I mean, there's nothing like getting humbled and then being like, I got this. The first day I started to feel normal again. I've never done so much in one day.
Yeah.
You know, but it was great. I mean, we had last week was amazing because we put out Family Trip. If you haven't seen.
Oh yeah. Yeah. We put out our short film, The Family Trip.
It's a pilot episode of a series called Family Trip that we'd love to do more of. But this was like a proof of concept with an incredible family, and every time I watch it, I cry, and it was a very powerful, profound moment of healing within a 3-generation family unit, and highly recommend it if you haven't seen it yet.
They took Molly. Yes,
they took Molly, MDMA.
Yep.
Yeah, and I think, as Michaela, the facilitator, says in the film, is MDMA allows a healing to happen because you're able to express the authentic self without fear, and you're also able to receive other people's authentic self.
Yeah.
And I feel like we've really experienced that within our relationship too, the healing power of that, and like saying things to each other that could be triggering to hear, and you could feel self-conscious about saying it or bringing it up, but when there's like this safe, loving container, you can kind of move through energy.
Yeah. It was, and that wasn't even, I don't know, in a weird way, I don't think that I made that thinking it would be seen. It kind of, it really, I went into that making a proof of concept so we could shop it around to a bunch of networks, and then they would give us money to go really do it. Because we didn't have a lot of resources to make that.
No,
at
it's
all.
Kind of surprising we pulled it off.
Yeah, it's kind of a miracle that it came out, and it came out pretty good. And yeah, we shopped it around. Everyone said no fucking way. And
they didn't say that. They were like, "It's great, but we're really looking for dating stuff right now," or "We're looking for." They have.
They were just scared. They're scared. that's fine. It's illegal, after all. So, but it was important to me, after the generosity of that family and actually like the palpable love that we captured and the healing that we captured, that people see it. So you can not be so scared. I don't know, but just kind of demystify these drugs and these experiences a little bit, because I think there's a lot of I don't know. There's just a lot of misinformation out there, and it's done on purpose.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of these drugs that is actually pretty accessible and can kind of reprogram your patterns, which is not many drugs do that. You know, we have all these anti-anxiety meds or antidepressants, and I'm not saying that they don't work, but they don't reprogram you.
Yeah.
You have to stay on the drugs.
Yeah.
And this is, I think that's why, whether it's MDMA or mushrooms or ayahuasca or DMT, like things that can help with your neuroplasticity changing towards out of the fight or flight response, you know, an opportunity for experiencing and witnessing trauma you've gone through and kind of having a different relationship towards it with your body. You know, the whole idea being the body keeps the score, and that we store all these traumas, even if we're not intellectually thinking about them, they're in our cells. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how we ended up editing it down to 26 minutes. I mean, their story is so rich and there's so much more there, but I mean, this is like a little glimpse at part of their story.
Yeah, there was a 44-minute version where I was like, well, there it is. I don't know how I could make this any shorter and, you know, more digestible and palatable. And then you just, you know, you leave the edit room for a minute and take a deep breath and say, all right, it's time to take a machete to this thing. But we gotta get it down to its bare essentials. And the reason it's 26 minutes is because if this were going to be bought, I would imagine it would be a half-hour show. So that's how, with commercials, that's how long it would come out to be. And I think we did a pretty good job. I think we got across what we wanted to get across, and the family really benefited from it. And yeah,
I think it's this kind of healing work is like a first step, and that's what I'm like from talking to Lacey and Michelle. It's like always a first step. Like it's kind of cool to just be like, oh, look, it's not like a one-stop shop drug where you're just like, oh, all my problems are solved. Like families have problems. There are interracial relational dynamics that are run very deep. But when you do this kind of work with your family or with your partner or someone you care about, or even with yourself, you set a high watermark for how you want to relate to each other, how you want to relate to yourself, what's possible, how good it feels to love and be loved. And then it kind of makes, when you're in fear and when you're in doubt and when you're angry, like seem so not only trivial, ridiculous, and harmful.
Yeah.
You know, you kind of see like, oh, expansive love, calm, peace, like that's where the good stuff is.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, when it comes down to it, it feels like we are love. That's it. That's what we are. That's what nature is. That's what the universe is. We are love. And it's almost like we come down here to learn how to love more and deeper. And we're going to have to take on a lot of harsh lessons in order to kind of acquire that knowledge. But I feel like some of these drugs provide a glimpse at that, the kingdom of love that resides inside of you, that you are. It gives a glimpse at it, especially for people in hyper-capitalist America. I don't know how else you can do that inner work given how much you have to do to survive and get by. It's really hard to carve out time to have and have the discipline to do inner work and it actually have some sort of impact on your life. So I feel like what normally might take months, if not years of therapy could be realized in a moment. Now it takes a lot of discipline, I think, afterwards to kind of keep that vibration going.
And integration, yeah.
Absolutely.
To continue to unpack.
Yeah.
And also like form a foundation for how you want to live and put the work into how you can have the idea on a substance of how you want your life to be, but integrating that into an everyday practice is its own journey.
Yeah, absolutely. And doing what makes sense for you. Like how many ideas have we had for our films or the podcast or whatever on substances? It's not like we make those things on the substance. You get the idea. We got a glimpse of our deepest self, and there's tons of creativity and ideas there.
Yeah, and what's important. We've had so many of our best business meetings on mushrooms or whatever it
Yeah.
is. Where we're like,
Mushrooms in particular.
yeah, we should do it more often, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
It usually, when we have great business insights on mushrooms, it's so matter of fact.
it's like, oh, duh.
It's like, yeah, it's like, oh yeah, and also this. And it usually, for me at least, it only works when we flood dosed ourselves. It's, microdosing, it's all fun and games to me. It's kind of just like, oh, this is going to be a good day. It's not where you're going to get the deepest insights. So for me, the deepest insights come from putting myself through hell by taking too many mushrooms. And then once it starts smoothing out a little bit, gazing into the eyes of my lover and realizing what we need to do to keep this thing going.
Yeah, on the come down.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I've definitely had, I don't know if I'd call it there's just like a microdose, but then there's like a mini dose, like a 1 gram, 2 gram thing.
Yeah.
That I feel like I've had some very,
The meta dose, we call that.
yeah, powerful insights on, just in like realizations about, little kinks in the hose, as you say.
Mm.
Anyway, psychedelics have been so impactful for us, and I think there's still a lot of fear around them, as is appropriate. Like there's a lot of unknown, there's a lot of mystery. I'm not saying like be fearless of, there's obviously any sort of substance or drug, you should be very well researched and do safe settings and stuff like that, but there's still a lot of that. I think the beauty of what we want to do and what we did with the family trip is kind of show that it's not as druggy as people may think it is, like ecstasy, like, oh, it's people clubbing and sweating and dying and all this stuff, you know, like if you take the base root of this drug, it's actually like a very chill, mellow experience.
Yeah. You got to breathe into that though.
Mm-hmm.
Because it lights you up. And I think that the reason that culturally, like, our vision of this stuff is like someone sweating in a club and all that is because that's by design, to amplify kind of, the most like ridiculous part of things, to make it seem a certain way so people don't want to go towards it. Because it's a threat to every system that we live under right now, that people get free and start living and loving. It's a major threat. It's a major threat to people's profit margins. So you have to make everyone that smokes pot look like a couch potato. And you have to make anyone that takes MDMA into an out-of-control raver. And you have to make every acid head into just like the worst wook you've ever seen. Like that,
Yeah, meanwhile, MDMA therapy has been happening for decades upon decades in like the Pacific Northwest or Northern California, where people have been turned on to this as like a very powerful tool for couples therapy or, anything like that.
I think that the trouble comes, and, it's not always the case, but the trouble comes when it becomes a way of being, is relying on the substance, deifying the substances. Because, I don't think that they're always the answer to everyone's prayers. I want to say that. I want to make that clear. I think a lot of substances come along and they can feel like they're saving the day. Look, when you first discovered alcohol, didn't it feel so freeing? Didn't it feel like, wow, what the fuck? What is this world? Wow, this isn't what life isn't what I thought it is. So I think when substances first come along, you can get hypnotized by them a little bit and think, I don't have to do the work. This thing's going to do it for me.
Totally. Yeah, we can give our power away. And I think the important thing that is to remember is that the human ego is a lot more powerful than whether it's plant spirits or anything. It's like, no, it's not going to do the work for you. and your ego definitely still has a seat at the table.
Well, your ego wants to. Your ego is seeking comfort, and if all the comfort it's known is a shitty story about you, it's going to figure out how to settle back into that. The ego wants something it's comfortable with. It wants a recognizable pattern. The heart couldn't give a shit about any of that stuff. Your soul couldn't give a shit about any of that stuff. It has ideas for you, and it's awaiting its awakening, and it's freeing. But the ego is a little bit tricky. I think ego death is a huge thing that you hear in the psychedelic community. Like a lot of people seeking ego death, which to me is kind of crazy. I mean, I don't even know. Have you ever had ego death?
I've had moments of not knowing who the hell I am.
Yeah. Well, okay, then you've had it. You've probably had it more than I have. I don't. I haven't really gotten that confused. There's always a like kind of a voice in there that knows what's going on and is guiding me through things. And I've been way too high, but I don't think I've ever experienced like a complete shattering of that thing. Nor do I seek that. What I seek to do is to train that thing. And I've talked about this before. I think that the ego is kind of like a puppy. It's like it's very excitable. It's jumping around. It's galloping at everything. It's reacting to everything. And as it gets old, it gets a little less reactive. But if you're not training it along the way, it's going to become a nightmare for you and everyone around you.
Yeah.
So you want to learn how to train that thing, because it can actually be a man's best friend. It can really help you. But you got to learn how to train it. I think killing it over and over and over again, I don't know where that's getting you. Because when it comes back, it's going to come raging back with a vengeance. And I think there's just a way to smooth out that process a little bit. And that's what meditation's about, obviously. And most practices that are spiritual.
Wonderful slave, horrible master
Yeah.
sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly. But damn, I was trying to, can't remember. I had something, but whatever.
Do you want me to let you think it back?
No, I don't care. Moving on. Moving on.
Moving on out.
Yeah. We're just coming out of the brain fog of being sick for 2 weeks, and each day feeling and looking the same, and just kind of another day type of feeling, and like, what is life, and questioning those things. And ooh-wee, that stuff challenges me. That is the deep like ego training that a guy like me needs, because I think that I seek novelty and excitement, and it's been cool for me. It's been healthy. I think it's made our life exciting. We've had a lot of just different kinds of memories with different people. And when you're under the weather and you really can't do anything, and you just fall into this cycle of just every day looking and feeling exactly the same, it's terrifying, and my ego is screaming out for more. It wants stimulation. It wants something different. It yearns for something. And so I'm kind of coming out of that right now. And we went to a party the other night, and it was good. I didn't feel super social, though. Like, I felt like this feels good to just kind of be around it and witness it, but I wasn't yet ready to, like, jump into the deep end with people. Meaning dance around like a fool. Just didn't feel like it was time yet.
It wasn't time yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what the summer's for. We're warming back up.
Yeah.
Even though you weren't didn't have COVID or whatever, never tested positive, you definitely were under the weather with me, which is kind of interesting. Like, you had headaches and stuff like that. So maybe
the same thing happens when you get your period.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yesterday I had it hard, and you just slept all day, and
I was like, why am I tired? What the heck is going on right now? Like, I literally, it's so weird. It's like we're too interconnected that literally you have something that only your body could do, and I'm feeling it. It's crazy. And I kind of love that stuff, and I love becoming aware of it, and kind of getting into the super subtle fields and nuanced energies of life that I think I've spent the last 10, 12, 15, 20 years overstimulating and not really kind of being in touch with. And I'm trying to smooth it out.
You're doing great.
That's what my sobriety journey is about right now.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. We have a friend that is in the deep throes of alcoholism. Like, he says he hasn't even taken a shower in 3 months, and he's just like always drinking. He wakes up and he starts drinking, and he's just really in a bad place. And it's crazy. It's doesn't it always seem to be the case that like when he's not caught up in that cycle, that he's like one of the brightest, most loving,
Well,
smartest.
you said the other night, you were like, sometimes people are too smart for their own good.
Well, they are. I mean, like, I don't know. I hate to say it. Like, a lot of the people that I know that have really struggled with alcoholism in particular are like borderline geniuses. They're like it.
Alan Watts was an alcoholic. Didn't he die of alcoholism or something?
Yeah, not technically, but it didn't. It definitely didn't help. But yeah, exactly. Like, I have an uncle that died from alcoholism. I have an aunt that died from alcoholism, and these aren't different sides of my parents' family. And many friends, and it's just a terrible way to go out. But I think what they all had in common was like just existential dread from like knowing too much. I don't know, from like being like too aware, and just kind of not willing to put in the real world work that you have to do to kind of smooth out those edges. And it is a really tough thing to bear witness to. And our friend that's going through this right now, it's a tough case, because it's like, you know, the prescription is like, okay, detox, rehab, you know, maybe a longer rehab this time. Maybe we'll do 6 months rehab. Maybe we'll do a 6-month halfway house sober living. Maybe it'll be even years or whatever. It doesn't work. I don't know. It's just like, it doesn't work for everybody. I think we've become so individuated and so splintered and so stuck in our own reality tunnels that it's like we're all collectively like missing the point of life. And we make it about all these other things other than love and loving each other and being there for each other and supporting each other and learning how to love deeper. And there's no amount of rehabs or substances or Molly or LSD or mushrooms that is going to replace having friends and having community and the accountability that comes along with that.
Yeah, and doing that stuff without that stuff, you can really be flowing out in the vast ocean.
Yeah. Yeah.
A little untethered.
And all society echoes back to you all the time is like, yeah, just work harder, collect more things, collect more experiences, stack chips, save up. And it's for people that are really smart, it's not that doesn't replace true purpose. Because I think like our heart knows what our true purpose is, and we know what we should be doing here, and we know what we need to be doing here, but we distract ourselves with all that other stuff. I know, because I'm guilty of it.
Well, there's the distraction, but then there's also like wanting all of your time. Like, there's a reason rent and groceries like is 70, 80, 90% of your salary,
Yeah.
like basic, you're working to survive. You're paying to live here,
You're dying to live.
Mm-hmm.
It's sad. It's a sad realization, and I feel like when people have that realization deep down and they're not in their spiritual practices, that shit'll eat you alive. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's the stuff that alcoholism is made of.
Well, there's a seed of resentment that would be hard to shake.
Yeah.
That's
what I'm saying. It's a really tough thing to kind of square with, and all these substances, all they're doing is they're offering temporary relief by temporarily shutting off access to those feelings. They're not dealing with them. They're sweeping stuff under the carpet. There's only so much you could sweep under the carpet before it comes rotting out. There's only so many times you can do that, and so much of that you can do before it before you're fucking full of shit. Really, that's what it becomes. You become fucking full of shit, and you become a shell of yourself, and you're up shit's creek with a turd for a paddle. I don't know what else to say. Like that's it's.
Well, not to throw anyone under the bus. I was gonna like throw a country under the bus, but you know,
It would be
there's
our country.
yeah. But I was also gonna throw like the UK like under the bus of like this like very proper, you know, very appropriate, very proper, very considerate, please and thank you, and yes, of course, and yes.
They all know how to wait in line perfectly somehow.
Yeah, no, but then there's like, you think of in the family units where it's like, okay, we have to be so proper and that we can't talk about the bad stuff.
Yeah.
Like, to be a good person, you have to not make anyone else feel uncomfortable or say anything that would make anyone uncomfortable. So that means when there's like real mud in a family unit, that it just gets like, I'm not sorry to throw the UK under the bus. I just think of them as like the kind of the dark side of like this British properness, you know? Like,
yeah, totally. There is a dark side to it.
But you know, every country has it. Yeah, you end up just not being real, and the cost of not being real with the people you love is like, it's too much. It's too much, and then like you're saying, it rots. You can rot because then there's like a resentment that can build, or if you don't address an issue, it becomes a little molehill becomes a mountain.
Oh yeah, it becomes a tumor that just grows with time, and it's a terrible thing to bear witness to, and it's a subtle thing too. Sometimes it takes years before you realize, like, oh damn, so and so really got off track, and now they're a complete mess, and I don't even know where to begin to try to help them. And that's kind of the situation we're in with our friend. It's just like, I don't know where to begin. Like, I've given him mushrooms, I've given him pot, I've offered him work. Like, I just like I don't know what to do other than say, like, damn, like most Americans, you got caught up in survival and you didn't build like a community, or like a group of friends, or you know, that was based on something real. And it gets really haunting and scary as you get older. This guy's in his 50s, probably in his mid to late 50s, and it's just so sad, and it's so sad. And he's just like, I think that's why our suicide rates are through the roof, and I think that's why you know, depression and anxiety medication is such a huge business here. It's because it's completely overwhelming, and we've been cut off from each other, and resentful of each other because of it.
Well, when you work so hard too, you when the time that you do have free, you're just recovering, you know?
Yeah.
It's not, but I do, it does seem to, if we had that time to just be, rather than, you know, the time to just witness, and, you know, it'd be a radically different society.
Yeah.
You know, if we were allotted that, you know, even a 3-day weekend in this country, you know, or.
And one of the days is mandatory silence.
Well, then you wouldn't like that.
No, I
it's
know.
So funny.
Self-imposed silence, mandatory self-imposed silence is a radical act.
You wouldn't like it as a rule, though.
Oh, hell
like,
no.
It's
no,
like
I'm
as soon
kidding.
as it's so funny to me, because as soon as weed has like become like almost pretty much federally legal, we're on the verge of that. It feels like you're like, I don't want to smoke anymore, or like, you know what I mean? It's just funny. You're like, as soon you liked it when you were more of a bad boy.
Yeah, I guess so. I don't know. I'm an outlaw.
That's my bigger theory about it.
Yeah. If I can't be an outlaw, then I'm not interested in smoking your thing. But
you still love weed. I'm just. You know.
I do. I honestly would never talk shit about it. I think it saved my life, to tell you the truth. It really did. I think when I discovered it and integrated it, it showed me who I was in a deeper way. It really helped get rid of anxieties and give me an appetite, and like it helped me sleep, and it gave me an appetite, and those things are like essential for your brain function. So it helped like restore some stuff that I think had just been lying dormant. I don't even know how I was going through the world before I found it, because it gave me temporary chemical relief from grief and anxiety from growing up the way I grew up, and the losses and just the continued chaos of my family,
Yeah.
my life. Yeah.
I do like your idea. Maybe not mandatory silence, but more silence, you know?
Yeah.
I do like that call, you know.
Yeah.
Self-imposed.
If you're an artist, I mean, I can only speak to, the path I've chosen as an artist. You need time. You really need time to shut the fuck up. You need time to just listen without any distractions,
And
without any outside stimulation.
and witness, you know. I feel
Yeah.
like you could be like, oh man, there's nothing to do, but then you can go for a walk and be like, wow, like look at how sparkly the snow is. Remember, you know, we can just there's like little things that you can just appreciate and just be like so mesmerized by.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've talked about this before, but I just was listening to a lecture the other day, and the guy put it back in these terms, and it just reminded me of something we used to say about like how your spiritual practice should be sensual, like erotic, passionate, the way that the way we approach our love for each other and our sex and the passion we have for each other. That's the energy that your spiritual life deserves. Otherwise, it won't take. Otherwise, you won't stick with it. It needs to feel the level of devotion that we have towards each other. That's just the only example I have in my life. The level of devotion that we have towards making art and continuing to be artists. Like, we need to apply that to our spiritual practices. And I think we do a pretty good job of doing that. And, part of it's not judging when it ebbs and flows and you kind of like move away from it for a little bit and then you kind of come back home. But if you're not bringing that level to it, it's not going to go. And it's not going to pay the dividends that it should.
Well, I think
right away when I started saying that, you were like, well, how does that look?
well, Mike, is this
Are
guy
you
fucking
having
trees?
Are you having sex with trees and animals in the snow?
I didn't say.
What are we talking about? You're taking this so goddamn literally.
I'm a very literal person.
I know you are. I know. It's cute. It makes me have to settle down and
but
not be sarcastic.
I know what you mean though. Like there's in like a sexual partnership, there's a goal of ecstatic union or an orgasm.
An ecstatic release.
An ecstatic release, and you can have that kind of goal and you can hit those sort of highs with your relationship with nature. That's not rubbing your genitals against a tree, but that it's just like being seduced. Sorry, I said that. I just think it's funny.
It is.
But it can be just like just visual mesmerization. I'm mesmerized. Like, I'm mesmerized by the snow. I'm mesmerized by the lichen. I'm mesmerized by the flowers. I'm just like, whoa. It just like takes, allowing nature to take your breath away.
Yeah. And people are nature.
Yes.
And people's art and creations, they are nature, and they're part of all that. And yeah, I think, that makes sense to me because it gives me something to work with. It gives me the high water mark to work with. And, I can easily... And I do get like that, and I feel like if you can't feel and see the divine in everything, in every win, but also every loss, every folly, every mistake in between, every fuck up, if you can't feel and see the divine in it, just kind of bring that energy back into it. Apply that, and you'll watch things blossom because you'll be just more mesmerized by life. And who cares if it's not real?
Well,
who cares?
Well, that's what I've always...
It's making your life better.
That's what mushrooms gave me. It was like, I had this, like, my world broke in half because I was like, it's not real. And then I came back together being like, well, it's real enough for me, man. Like, the experience of loving someone and being loved and feeling love in this life and the Indra's net of love, like, that's enough. Even if it's all fake and not real and just a delusion, like, and... there's really nothing here, but it's worth that feeling.
Yeah.
That is real enough.
You took 5 grams of mushrooms and it it reset your ego a little bit and put you back in almost like a childlike wonder for the world. And before the suspicion and paranoia and doubt caught up to you, you were able to implement some practices. And the discipline of keeping those practices is kind of what our art is imbued with now, I think. For both of us.
Yeah, who was saying the other day that like you can be childlike, but that doesn't mean you're immature.
Billy Strings.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that was nice. I appreciate that because that's what it feels like where we've been headed as a relationship. What we've wanted and what the high water mark that we like is like the wonderment, the excitement, the childlike wonder, the beauty, the excitement, the endless possibilities. But that doesn't mean you're an immature child.
No, I don't.
You
If
know.
we were immature, we couldn't make films that honor that. That's all we're trying to do. I mean, documentary is one of our spiritual practices. It's it's chasing the muse around this goddamn country and finding pockets of light where nobody thinks they would exist, and they are there, and amplifying that so other people can feel it. And it coaxes me into a way of thinking of, don't write things off, don't write people off, because they will shock you. Because watch all of our films, the people, these people will shock you. And if you had more context of how we found that person, or how they landed in our life, where they ended up on camera, it would shock you. These are small miracles that these things even exist, that these people said these things at this time and connected with us. And that's what keeps me a true believer. And that's what keeps my perfect faith.
Yeah.
And when I lose it, all I have to do is like look at one of our pieces of art, and it reminds me.
Well, yeah, I was talking
It's
about.
like looking into the eyes of the divine when I watch these things. And even if it's just for us, even if I'm the only person that recognizes the small miracles about these things, it's fine. That's good enough for me. I don't care. We spent all our money doing it. It might as well serve some purpose.
Yeah, no, talking to Lacey, who star of the family trip.
Hmm.
But I was talking to her yesterday, and she's like, it just all happened so magically. Like
Yeah.
how we met her, how it ended up being her family in this, and how the timing was perfect for her family, how I got connected with Michaela, and Michaela was the perfect facilitator for this, how they bonded, what they were able to relate over. Like so many, a series of little magical moments.
Yeah.
And it kind of intimidates me, kind of it not being picked up as a series. I'm not saying I want to curse that it won't be, but
The idea of doing that again over and over
yeah,
and
it's
over
just
again.
like the amount, and it's a big experience to be willing to share with the world and put out there, and
Yeah, it's a
and a
lot
lot,
to ask of our subjects.
and it's a lot of stars to align, and it's just it's a but for that reason, it's like that much more magical. Like the kids were in the house, and we ended up doing it at their house, and that they came down, and that they were watching on the monitor upstairs with us, and they went down and like hugged their mom and grandma at the perfect time, and it just like allowed this like deep healing to take place. It's just
Yeah.
I just feel very lucky that we got to be there and to capture that.
Yeah, we're working on like a big corporate job right now. And the question keeps coming up like, what is it you even do? You know, they're asking us that. Like, what is it you even do? And it's like, it's hard for me to speak to in the terms that they want me to speak it. You know what I mean? They're like, oh, you're just figuring out the perfect question to ask a person. It's like, no, I've spent 42 years becoming this person who emanates open-heartedness. And for some reason, people want to open up because I've been open with them. And it's a very even exchange, and it's a beautiful thing. But it's literally having that wild little puppy of your ego trained, and to know when to say sit. And that's all we did through this whole process for Family Trip to come together the way it did. No egos flared up or got involved, because if they did, they would question what the hell we're doing, why we're doing it, why we feel this is necessary. It would start to try to take way too much into account all the factors of legality, finances, privacy, all this stuff that people's egos it's something guided us through this process, and that's the heart space. And there's a way to access that, and it's actually very easy. I think there's a lot of grifters out there, and I'm already dealing with in the comments of this film like spiritual Karens, people who want to gatekeep and want to say, no, this is the only way to do it. It can only be this way and this and that. It's very simple. You don't need Molly. You don't need anything like that. You need your breath. You need your breath, and and decide what for you the divine is. Decide what it is, what it feels like, give it a name, and when you breathe, say its name. Say its name in, say its name out. Say its name in, say its name out. That'll drop you into the heart space. That'll train that wild puppy dog. And then you can do something with it. And that's where, like, I'm pretty sure all the art that really touches us and resonates on the deepest levels, like we watched Boyhood again the other night.
Director's commentary version.
Where do you think that came from? That movie, nothing happens really. It is unlike any movie. You're just bearing witness to a series of moments as a person gets older from 1st to 12th grade. And it just cracks me open. It just, to watch that, like, that dilation of time take place. And they really shot it over 12 years. And they cast this boy when he was 6 years old, and they finished the film when he was 18. And it's an insane achievement. That didn't happen from chasing awards or money or accolades or anything like that. The people involved, including the actors, couldn't talk about this. They were lending their likeness to something that wasn't going to see the light of day for 12 years. Who knows if they were even going to be alive or still in this business or able to have parlayed it into anything by the time this came out. It just took a tremendous trust in a vision, in love, in watching and allowing something to unfold that doesn't have all of the pitfalls that most movies have that try to get your attention. It just hits on the heart space, and that's it. You can tell where the movie came from. And I would say that about a lot of Linklater's movies. He's had some big misses, but, like he's always said, he does one for him and one for them. The ones for them, you can feel it because they're motivated by money. Maybe not for him. He still wants to make a good movie, but the reason he got that movie is because he was going to cooperate with a studio and with their vision, and he wasn't going to, kick and scream and bitch and moan in order to get his vision out there. He just kind of allows it to happen, and that's why those movies just don't hit in the way that his other ones do. The Before Sunrise series, Dazed and Confused, Everybody Wants Some, Boyhood, Slacker, Waking Life. They're incredible achievements. Suburbia, great one. But that's what I hope to do. Is I hope that we can make stuff that allow people to render out that vision of what the divine even is a little bit more, so you can put a name on it and say that's what divinity is to me. And now I know what it feels like, and I kind of know what it looks like, and I know what it elicits in me, and I'm going to give it a name, and I'm going to say the Lord's name as I breathe. Isn't that such a beautiful process? Isn't it such a humbling process? Isn't it such a simple process that you don't have to pay for?
Mm-hmm. No, and I think that's why Americans need substances.
Yeah.
We're such a material culture that we need a material thing that we can buy and
it's
consume.
The only thing we would trust.
Yeah, we
wouldn't trust something that has been lying dormant in us this whole time because we haven't put faith in ourselves.
Yeah.
We've put faith in the material, and we've we've deified billionaires. Can you imagine? We're gonna look back at this
insanity.
As
I'm
we
like, are you kidding me?
Yeah, we're gonna look back at this time period as we continue to evolve into aliens and achieve alienhood, and be like, yo, there was a time in this process where we were deifying billionaires and we were holding them in high regard, and we were making excuses for people that had exploited each other and exploited resources and labor in ways that are just unthinkable, and we put them on the highest levels of society. We worshipped them.
I mean, I think we're
going to look back at that and be like, what?
I think we just have this idea that they earned it rather than they are exploiting, that they're not a king. You know what I mean?
I think people think Elon Musk is some sort of different thinker and this crazy inventor and this and that. He's just a very obvious example because he is such a dipshit, just such an epically insecure dipshit that wants to control things and silence people with his money. And he hides behind free speech, and he does all this fucking... I mean, he's hypnotized people that are very close to me, cannot understand why anyone would ever say anything bad about Elon. He's carrying the light of human consciousness to other planets. He's going to help us. He's going to help us get to Mars. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? How many cult documentaries have we watched where that's what they're telling people? And then they have everyone kill themselves en masse. You know, like, come on. You're going to buy into what this guy who has... It's stolen wages. That's all it is. You have to look at it as for what it is. If somebody's accumulated that much money, it's stolen wages. It's inappropriate to profit off of things that people need, to profit off of people's labor, to bust unions.
Even to just accumulate that much wealth when there are people that are...
Gross.
It's just like to...
Gross.
I don't know. The idea of...
Gross.
I don't know. It's a very...
reptilian.
Comforting feeling to stack chips.
Yeah. What a joke. What a joke of a way to spend your life. And you know what? The joke's on him because he's in hell.
Yeah.
He is in hell. And you can see by all the plastic surgery he's having and all the stuff that he has to do to posture and make people think he's cool. And look at his fucking Twitter feed. I mean, the guy's in hell. The same way, like, look at Donald Trump and what he needs to spew and go about doing. He's in hell. You know, all these people, name it. Hillary Clinton. She has to call Bernie Sanders a misogynist and a Russian agent because he was speaking on behalf of the people and trying to get us health care. She's living in hell. She's living with a fucking pedophile in a hellscape of her own making. And, you know, we can all work our way out of that. But, man, there's some people that have really put themselves behind the 8 ball and have done it very publicly. And not only have they done that, they think they're saving the world in the process. It's insane. And that's what I'm saying. Like, that's why I just point out along the way on a spiritual path, like, no one knows anything that you don't know. And if you think you don't know it and that you need to externalize and go and buy something and do this and that, not that there's people that can't help. We all, of course, can help each other. But people that are profiting off of trying to help you, they don't know anything you don't know. They don't know anything that you couldn't fucking figure out from sitting in silence and just listening to yourself. Because who the hell would know what's right for you other than you? You know, there's people that can encourage you and inspire you.
Oh.
But if they're charging you, please pause for one moment. Bear with us while we reset the video. The video cut off when we started talking shit about billionaires. We mentioned Elon Musk in our video cut out.
Oh, man. No coincidences, I guess.
Yeah. But, I mean, I think that it's... we're all seekers at heart. And I think that what we're all seeking is, like I said at the beginning, we're here to learn how to love. And good Christ, is there going to be a lot of static and interference on that channel when you try to get on there. And a lot of commercials. So what you have to do is kind of learn to really discern and know that no one knows anything besides you.
It's a very freeing thing.
Yes. Yeah.
I remember being so upset because you were so calm the first time we were doing psychedelics, and I was like, "You must know something I don't know because my life is being rocked right now." I've
had to let go. I'm a mess, but in terms of your
reality's crumbled in other ways.
Yes,
like
exactly.
Your reality where you had 3 younger sisters and everybody's good for the most part, like that crumbled. And so you were like, oh, life can be taken like that.
Yeah.
And so you already became comfortable with not having a ground to stand on almost.
I had gone through the looking glass. And interestingly, it was probably around the same age that you did. Like how old were you when we took acid? 25?
Sounds right.
Like 25, 26. That's when I lost my sister and my dad was in prison. Caitlin was having uncontrollable seizures, and also like, hey, Sean, go start a life, make a career, just getting spit out into the real world, into the cold and unforgiving streets of New York City. Like, Yeah, I had dealt with like earth-shattering change, and
I rem-
it didn't take acid.
yeah, no, it took acid for me, and it felt like
At least it was consensual.
it felt like, oh my God, why am I so uncomfortable? People must know something I don't know. There must be some deeper truth here that I don't know. And I guess in a way it's true, but the deeper truth being like, no one knows what the fuck's going on, you know?
Yeah,
There
yeah.
is no,
They're just reminders. I
yeah.
mean, like, look, I think there's a lot of people that know a lot of things, but all they can do is serve as reminders. And if it weren't just as simple as that, it wouldn't resonate with you.
Mm.
You know, there's bullshit that, like I'm saying, Elon Musk spews all this bullshit. Donald Trump spews all this bullshit. Hillary Clinton, you name it. They spew all this bullshit, and it's just like, it doesn't resonate. You hear Ram Dass say something, and I'm like, it resonates. It doesn't make me want to worship Ram Dass. It obviously was something I knew. And yeah, I think that's like there's a process of kind of getting real with yourself and learning how to retrust yourself, because our whole indoctrination through life and through school and everything is to externalize. Is that like everything you need is out there,
And there's a boss.
and there's a boss. Yeah, and get used to it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think people shrink themselves, and they diminish their lives by renting it out to those bosses. And yeah, the other option is terrifying, and it's hard, and it comes with it's so hard. It's so hard. I don't know. It's harder than ever. It's crazy that it's as our career's gone on and we've gotten more notoriety, it actually has become harder to keep our heads above water. That's how predatory and rigged our economy is that it's become harder for us to do our thing. It's become harder, and like people are so art has become such a disposable commodity along with everything else that people could watch something like Family Trip that we poured our fucking money into, our heart and soul, the generous souls that were in it, and choose to say something kind of really glib or silly about it or not share it. It's like, how do you expect people to keep making this kind of stuff if when you see it and it resonates with you that you don't do anything about it? Like, you have to support. I hate that I have to preach that every now and then. And it's not just us. It's like anything that you love, any artist that you love or care about or is doing something that is helping you get more in touch with yourself, help them. Help them. Give them money. If you can't give them money, give them your attention. Give them, promote them. Tell somebody. Share something. Like, it's hugely important in order to keep certain voices out there, not just rich people, because that is literally, we're the anomaly in our industry. We're an extreme anomaly that we don't come from money and we don't have anyone giving us money, and we're able to do this.
But we are open to financiers if you have a lot of money.
Oh,
So.
hell yeah. You know what I would love more than anything for Family Trip is that we got rejected by Netflix and Hulu and Apple, you name it. We got rejected by them all. That some fucking rich motherfucker comes along and is like, well, I have extra money. How much will it take to make this series? Like, yeah, like we said, like, we only want to make like 6 more episodes. I would love to see hundreds of episodes out there, but like, I only want to make like 6 more
Well, just
episodes
think what
of
we were
this.
able to do. Like, Lacey and her mom were able to come together in this moment and work with Michaela because we were there. You know, I think we could, it's like by documenting it, we could offer it to more families too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I was going to say something else, but I forget.
Do you want me to give you space to remember?
No. No, I don't.
Look, I think the reason we can sit here and talk about all this stuff is because we've been through the psychedelic prism of permutations of how to approach life, and are we doing it right, and does this feel right, and does that feel right? Does someone else know something? Do we need to rely on? Should I have a job? Should I be relying on somebody else? You know, we just kind of like we've put ourselves through a lot by not getting jobs and, you know, remaining staunchly independent. And I think it's helped us grow. And I think it's helped us deal with grief in a different way. And I think it's strengthened us.
I just wish everyone had more time. I wish this technological revolution that we continue to be in was leading to everyone having more time and space to quiet down and consider and relate to other people. I wish that the robots taking over was the beginning of universal basic income and of giving people more time and more agency over their life and their spirituality and their heart space, and that's the vision I'm going to hold.
Yeah.
And
I mean, we'll have to get there eventually, but it's unfortunate that as people are becoming disposable commodities in the workforce, that we just see the suicide rates going through the roof. Instead of it's like, oh, cool, the robots came here and they saved us all this work. Now we can just put that money back to the people and you can go like live your life, make your art, like live a life that feels like Burning Man. Cool. Like that's my vision. That's my psychedelic socialist future that I hope for us. And maybe we'll get there, but right now it seems like we have diminished what human life means because we don't need them to work anymore.
Yeah, we're in such a predatory world that you not only have to like stack chips, but like a lot of chips to feel safe and secure in this world, rather than, I mean, be reckless like we are and just invest all the money you get back into art and just be like, well, it's better. We're on the Hunter S. Thompson timeline, I guess.
Yeah, but look what it's done for us. Because like I'm saying, like the only thing that can really permanently stave off the blues, just the deepest, the shit that leads our friend to the place where he's such a down and out drunk. The only shit that could stave that off is feeling like you're held in this universe and feeling like you're connected to other people. And what has making all this art actually done for us? Well, it hasn't made us a lot of money. I know that. But we have a lot of fucking friends. We have a lot of friends.
And I would never do it differently. Like,
no way. I wouldn't trade one of those friends for the money that would make us have the illusion of feeling comfortable.
Well, and I also think if, a certain amount of money were to land in my bank account today, I already have like 10 ways I want to spend it. Like,
it'd be gone.
Just like,
it'd be gone. We don't respect money in that way.
I want to make so many movies,
Yeah.
there's so many movies that feel like I need to make. So,
yeah. Well, because it just feels like we're honoring people's voices, and there's voices that need to be heard that like somehow it seems like nobody else is going to get to those people. We only want to amplify the voices of the most bombastic, rich, out of control, egocentric people. Like, it's crazy. It's crazy how anyone is interested in anything fucking Kanye West is putting out anymore. Like this is just another example. It's just, look, he's an artist and he's been through a lot, but he's a fucking billionaire. And like what is it he's doing that's so interesting that like we can't take all the attention that we put on this motherfucker and put it towards 100 other artists that really deserve that might not ever get heard otherwise. We're just our attention is so steered in directions, and it's crazy. Like, you're talking about technology coming along and like saving the day and this and that, and like it should allow for us to have a deeper inner life. It should allow for more space and silence. Because look, we've dominated nature. We don't have to worry about certain things anymore. Wouldn't that put us in a position to become like deeply spiritual people? No, it put us in a position where the technology is now robbing us of our time and our attention.
And we're like dangerously disconnected from nature, where we don't like feel its pain and that.
Oh, yeah. We can't hear it. We can't listen, We're medicated like crazy. We're medicating with technology. Our time has been completely commandeered. Any free moment we have has been completely spoken for, and most people are at their wits' end with it. And the people,
maybe we should be, and maybe that's kind of what's like
Absolutely.
required for like the tide to really shift. Because what is it, like 3.5% of the population has to like not consent for real change to take place?
Really? I've never heard that before.
I've heard
That
something
sounds
along
good.
those lines, but there's like a certain amount of people that are required. Like, there's a lot more people than there are billionaires.
We need a lot more wooks. We need an army of wooks.
Kind
that
of.
just says to the powers that be like, oh, we don't care. We
'Cause
don't care about all that shit. I don't care about a fucking Cybertruck. I don't care about you thinking you're saving humanity by exploiting labor.
Yeah, like de-invest in everything that they want you to consume. I mean, like, look
Absolutely.
at how powerful the boycotts can be. you know, and
Yeah.
how scared companies can get,
Oh yeah.
like a Starbucks or McDonald's or whatever, when you just stop
Yeah.
buying their shit. Fuck their shit.
All of it is pandering anyway. I mean, like,
I get so, oh my God, we should talk about, I don't even, wish I could
well,
remember all the Super Bowl commercials, but if,
whoa, man, that is
it was dark.
dark glimpse. Like, does the rest of the world see those commercials? Because it just almost makes me feel like the emperor has no clothes moment. Like, god damn, we're blasting out not only this brutal game that everyone's focused on, but the commercials around it are such a dark look into what we're all about and where they're trying to steer us, and it's disturbing.
And whoever has those commercials, they have too much money. Like, that's
Yeah.
just, you know, if you're like apartments.com, you're like, oh, we're in a renter's economy and we're being exploited. Oh, this beer commercial. Oh, they're poisoning you. You can look into how poisonous these beers are. Not because alcohol is poisonous, but because the chemicals that are on the hops, and it's just like toxic shit.
Yeah.
You look at what Israel's doing.
Yeah, they have a commercial.
That taxpayers pay Israel, and then Israel
They buy commercials
commercials
time here
with it
to garner sympathy. If
so
there's a
sick.
religion advertising during the Super Bowl that's trying to garner sympathy,
Jesus,
is not good. Yeah, Jesus, the Christians.
it's just a sick, sad world. The gambling, all the gambling. Oh my God.
Every
I was just
celebrity is
we
complicit
were
in
walking
it.
through the, yeah. Fuck celebrities who do gambling. Fuck celebrities who do these refinance your mortgage. Fuck celebrities who do Pepsi commercials. I fuck them all. Fuck them all. I hate them all.
They need to use celebrities to
Don't
get our
trust
attention.
them. Don't trust them. But even it was so interesting being at the mall yesterday and seeing these games for kids, which, you know, Joey loved it. You know, the claw game,
The crane game.
the crane game. But it's gambling
Oh,
because
yeah.
you have to hit it so many times for it to actually
Engage the claw.
the claw.
Yeah.
And it's a gambling. We're getting trained very early on to be used to that kind of high.
Oh yeah. It feels like the final boss in hyper predatory capitalism is the gambling monster. It's the thing that you will willingly give your money to. You're not going to be forced to. They barely have to advertise. They just have to suggest, hey.
They have a dangling PS5.
They have a PS5 in this fucking machine that
It's like
little kids are lining up to try to fucking claw it out of there, and it's like, you can't claw it out of there. But just the chance, and it'll set off your dopamine, and it's just like that's what gambling is. It's willingly giving your money over to the already extremely wealthy. There is no way. You'll never see a casino go out of business. You'll never see one of these sports books go out of business. As long as they're allowed to do their thing unregulated, they will thrive. And, Disney's in the game now. Disney just put $1 billion into a betting site.
ESPN bet or something.
Yeah. And all these commercials come on, and it's like Tom Brady telling you to bet, and this person, and like, oh, who's going to, like, they figured out the various segments of population and what celebrity appeals to them most, and throw them in the thing and tell people to gamble, which is basically just saying, surrender your money, transfer it upward, voluntarily transfer your money upward. We're used to doing this with religion.
And with it for a cheap high of some
For the cheapest
sparkly
high.
visuals.
At least religion is promising you
salvation.
Salvation, yeah. Yeah, totally. This is like, hey, you might win, and there's so many forms of it. And like there's more refined versions of it where it's like, I'm a stock market person and this and that. Like, no, you're a gambling addict. You're a crypto bro. You're a gambling addict. It's ridiculous. No one's gaming any systems. The systems are already fully rigged by the time they present themselves to the public.
Yeah,
So,
what happened
like,
with GameStop is a perfect example of that.
Yeah, watch that movie Dumb Money and see what happened to the GameStop thing. The people tried to say, oh, we know how to fucking figure out this stock from being shorted. If we all bond together and buy this stock, we're going to cost the billionaires billions. We're going to put hedge funds out of business. And the second they were on the verge of doing that, they just shut down the people's ability to do that. The people united and tried to do something, and it was like, no. It's kind of like when Bernie almost won the goddamn Democratic nomination. And they were like, oh, we're on the eve of Super Tuesday where Bernie will lock this up. Let's have every Democratic nominee drop out at once besides Elizabeth Warren, and just make sure that Bernie can't deliver health care to people.
I think
that's it. That was his message, health care.
Well, that would flip the system on its head.
Yeah.
So they can't let that happen.
Yeah.
But it can make you hopeless, but can also I think I teeter on being hopeless and dreading everything to like, okay, we have to build our own systems.
The reason I'm not hopeless is because if you and I can figure out these patterns and see what the thing is all about and divest from it, we're not that smart.
That's true.
We're not that smart. If we're picking up on this and we're able to speak to it and we're able to do something within our personal lives about it, that's actually extremely fulfilling in a much deeper way than all those pursuits. Other people are waking up. There's got to be a mass awakening happening if we're on it. We're not riding the crest of anything. There's got to be other people. Most people, I would say, have these inklings. And it's just a matter of like, is it time to put down the addiction? The addiction to Western culture and all of the stuff it's offering you for your salvation, that is just false. It's false. False gods, false managers, false fucking dreams of getting rich. Why would you even want that? Like, that's the other thing. Is like, you know, like the gambling addict in us all wants what? To hit the ultimate jackpot. For what? To isolate ourselves more? To not be in the fight anymore? To not be part of the working class anymore? You want to be a class trader? You want to get out of the thing? Get the fuck out of here.
You need $100 million bunker in Hawaii. Is what you really need.
We were watching a great movie the other night called Owning Mahoney, starring Philip Seymour Hoffman from 2005. It's about a gambling addict in Canada. It's a real story. And this guy worked at a bank, and he was able to like siphon like $10 million from the bank to just go and play blackjack. And just like, it's crazy. And he just kept saying he's not a gambling addict, that he has financial problems. He doesn't have a gambling problem. He has a financial problem. And there's a great line in there. The owner of the casino said, like he couldn't figure out like why this guy kept coming back there and losing it all, and then showing back up and losing it all. And he said, he wants to win so he can keep losing. And I was like, there it is. That's gambling in a nutshell. And it's not only gambling in a nutshell, it's like what our lives have been reduced to. And you know, there's a form of acceptance that isn't giving in at all. You can still have your revolutionary spirit. You could still have a lot of fight in you, but accept that all the stuff that people are running around and working for and trying to convince you to run around and work for has nothing to do with you. It has nothing to do with the journey that your particular soul is on. And I think what we're saying, I don't know, it might be in one ear and out the other for people listening to this, but there's people that are hearing this that I think it could help, because it helps me when I hear people like Alan Watts or Ram Dass or Robert Anton Wilson or whoever talk about this stuff. It helps me. It helps remind me of my own power. And that's all we're trying to do. And that's all we're trying to do in our films. We're trying to remind people like we are so goddamn interconnected that it would haunt you. It would haunt you, the clairvoyant you are, the mind reader you are, the psychic you are. It would haunt you if you could just settle down and tame that little puppy that is your ego, and slay all of those cultural narratives that you've been indoctrinated with for so long. It would haunt you how powerful you are. And I think that's what a lot of people are scared of. Is like they know somewhere deep down how powerful they are. They just don't know what to do about it. But there's tons of options. Make art. It's the best way to put like coded messages out for future people. That's what I feel like it's for. It's like, this is for future generations to know that we've been through the same thing.
Yeah.
And just to keep reminding us we are each other.
And it's not, I feel like it's also like the answer isn't to not work and not, I think the answer is to like work
to find the divine in that.
and work in a way that actually contributes to society.
Yeah.
You know, and I think we've gotten, they want to tell us, oh, you have to contribute to your own 401k. I'm not saying you shouldn't, but I'm saying there is like this lack of contribution to a bigger whole
Yeah.
that we're doing.
Even the 401k system is a form of like consensual mass hypnosis gambling addiction.
Yeah, no, they got us all.
We used to have pensions.
Yeah, and then they moved it all to, it was very, very pointed. I saw that whole thing about moving. It was supposed to be a pension, and then they added the 401k, and then they did it and got rid of the pensions and made it like, oh, well, you all get a 401k, which is us all.
It's a form of legal gambling that your company does with you. And they say, hey, the money that we were going to put into your pension, we're going to put into the stock market in a very risky, volatile markets. We're going to put it there. And
well, the stock market loves that, obviously.
Oh, yeah, of course. Of course, the stock market loves having untold trillions that the people can't control, that companies do, at its disposal. The stock market loves that. And it's a form of just, collective gambling that we've said, all right, fine, we'll give up our pensions for the gamble that we could double it up. Like, that's not what work's about. That's not what hard work's about. Like, we gave, and that's my fear also with what's it called? Universal basic income. I think they will throw us that bone eventually, but at the cost of every other social safety net that we have. They're like, what? We give you $1,000 a month. I don't want to fucking hear about homelessness. I don't want to hear about starvation. I don't want to hear about lack of education. We give you $1,000 a month. Fuck off. I don't care about food stamps. I don't care. We're taking it all away. We give you $1,000 a month. And that's why I never really trusted Andrew Yang, because I think that's what he was all about. And he came from that world of hedge funds and technology and all that shit. He's on their behalf trying to sell us on basically the 401k thing of the future, which is, yeah, you're not going to have to work. We're going to give you $1,000 a month, but we don't want to hear about suffering anymore. We don't want to hear about any other social programs. We don't want to hear about taxing fucking rich people. Let's stop. So, yeah.
It's going to be really hard to pay taxes this year. Like,
it always is.
It always is, but it just feels like very hard.
When it's so loudly going towards supporting genocide, yeah, that's a tough bridge to cross.
Someone was saying how now there are armed IRS agents.
That makes sense.
Makes sense, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, that's when you start to realize you're like, oh, the founding fathers did think ahead a little bit with the Second Amendment, If there's going to be armed IRS and armed everything and the militarization of our police departments and criminalization of survival, well, at least I could have a gun. At least I could off myself or try to protect my family a little bit more than I could before. I don't know. I don't think people need guns. I don't like them.
I'd rather die than have to have a gun personally. Like I just don't want to live in that world personally.
Yeah, it's the symbol of America. It's the ultimate symbol of this country. And guess what doesn't need advertising? Yeah. I know I don't want one, but I understand why it's kind of built into our inherent rights here, because they knew that they were ushering in a big experiment in unfettered capitalism that could lead to this kind of thing.
What, taxation without representation?
Yeah.
Right back to where we started.
Absolutely, it's why we showed up here. It's to get away from that shit. And look at us now. Multiple wars. Really, like we have a front row seat to what the media hypnosis does, because we see it with my parents. Whatever they're up in arms about usually is like 1 or 2 degrees away from World War III. And they're convinced that's what it needs to, Can you believe that China did this? Can you believe Russia did this? Can you believe Iran did this? And it's always like it's always can you believe? And it's like these 4 or 5 countries.
Can you believe what we're doing?
It's never that.
It's never that.
It's never that. It's never that. That's never the thing. And that's what we always bring it back to, which makes us seem crazy to them. But I'm like, What you're getting fed is crazy. You're being told to invest more of your sacred energy here into warmongering. Get the fuck out of here. Like, when does our critical thinking click in? How many people need to die? How many people need to die of opioids or
And
have their
also,
lives ruined by gambling or kill themselves, like, before we're like, oh, whoa, this isn't working?
how about the number one funder of healthcare being GoFundMe? Like,
Yeah.
I want my tax dollars to go towards healing and helping people so that, it just like makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you want to go over to the Patreon and talk a little bit more shit?
Sure.
Get a little bit more personal and weird.
Sure.
Thanks for listening to this, if you still are. A great way to support us is patreon.com/churchofchill. It's $2 a month. You get all these podcasts have two parts. The first part's here, and the second part's on Patreon. And we have tons of radio shows on there, 180 of them at this point. I'm very proud of that. And what else? I don't know.
Discord
podcast.
community.
Oh, the Discord community.
We talked a lot about community and connection. Get connected with people.
Yeah, if you're into what we're saying and you want to connect with some like-minded heads and ourselves, hop on patreon.com/churchofchill and join the Discord community.
And watch Family Trip and share it with a friend or with family or something.
Yeah, please, share Family Trip with somebody that you think might need or enjoy it. Right?
Definitely.
Cool. Aho, amen, aight.
Whoop,
Whoop, whoop.
Aye,
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 aye.
aye. Peace, love, and magic, y'all.